Parker Schnabel has just rewritten gold mining history. This isn't about a few thousand ounces of gold. It's a discovery so massive, it's being valued at an eye-watering $80 million. And this isn't just another win for the gold rush star. This is the kind of jackpot that changes lives. A once untouchable piece of ground turned out to be a gold-filled miracle. But getting there? That took risking everything. Every last dollar he had, pushing his team to their limits, and unlocking a secret buried and frozen in time for thousands of years. They found what's being called Alaska's hidden waterfall of gold. Parker stood at the edge of a frozen abyss, staring at a stretch of Alaskan wilderness that had crushed the dreams of miners before him. This wasn't just any mining claim, it was a legend. A place that miners only whispered about in Yukon bars. They called it the Widow's Cut, a collapsed frozen mine shaft rumored to sit on a fortune, but feared as a death trap. Mining there was considered madness, betting your entire operation on it. Pure insanity. But that's exactly what Parker did. He laid $15 million of his own money on the line, a figure that could have bankrupted him many times over if he was wrong. This spring has already cost more than any season we've ever had, and we haven't even started, he admitted. What most people don't realize is that gold mining isn't all pickaxes and glory. It's a high-stakes game of geological chess. But Parker had an ace up his sleeve. He'd quietly hired a team of geologists to run a secret survey using advanced LiDAR technology, a laser-based system that reveals what lies hidden beneath the earth. What they found was electrifying. The remains of an ancient, prehistoric waterfall system, buried deep under the permafrost. The models showed a gold concentration so rich, so impossibly large, it was almost mythical. Estimated value? A jaw-dropping $80 million. This wasn't just a big find. This was a once-in-a-century discovery, a generational fortune. As Parker stood over the first signs of gold, even he was stunned. Holy, is that it? You are the chosen one. Look at that. What you just found. People aren't going to believe this, he said. But a glowing computer model is one thing. Getting the gold out of frozen ground was another story entirely. The treasure still lay buried under thousands of tons of rock and ice. To reach it, Parker launched a bold, two-pronged assault. He made the gut-wrenching call to split his crew, a risky move that stretched every resource thin. One team stayed behind to mine their existing claim, trying desperately to haul in enough gold to cover the sky-high operating costs. The second team, his elite crew, was sent to the Widow's Cut to tackle the real challenge, thawing out the frozen earth and extracting the legendary prize. But the pressure was suffocating. Every single day, the operation burned through tens of thousands of dollars just in fuel. To give perspective, running a single D11 bulldozer costs over $500 an hour. And all the while, winter loomed, ready to bury everything under ice once again. Parker had just gone all in on a piece of land that had broken better men. And no amount of technology, money, or ambition could help when the ground itself turned against you. This was war against permafrost. People watching gold weigh-ins on TV often miss the brutal reality behind them. Before the thrill of striking gold comes soul-crushing monotony, stress, and doubt. Back at the old claim, Parker's team faced the harsh grind of trying to keep the whole operation afloat. They were exhausted, overworked, and staring down unrealistic goals from a boss who expected the impossible. And this was only the beginning. They were moving literal mountains, thousands of cubic yards of dirt every hour. But the payoff wasn't showing up. Despite all the effort, the gold just wasn't coming. Tension began to rise. The crew felt the pressure of working under what they saw as impossible expectations from a boss who was himself buckling under the weight of an $80 million budget gamble. Meanwhile, over at the Widow's Cut, the battle had turned brutal. It wasn't just cold ground they were fighting. It was permafrost, a solid, frozen mass as tough as concrete. In Yukon mining, this is the ultimate enemy. To even get close to the gold-rich pay dirt beneath, they had to thaw it. And that meant bringing in the big guns. The operation relied on two massive machines, two giants that would decide the fate of the entire season. The first was the Slucifer, Parker's dependable but aging wash plant. But the real star of the show was Big Red, his custom-built, multi-million-dollar wash plant. This thing was an engineering monster, over 150 feet long, and capable of processing hundreds of tons of pay dirt per hour. Its job? To separate gold from the useless rock and sand. Assembling Big Red on top of unstable, frozen terrain was a nerve-wracking challenge. Using heavy excavators and steel chains, the crew had to piece it together with the precision of surgeons. One wrong move, one misstep, and the entire machine could collapse into a pile of twisted metal. Just as Big Red finally roared to life, disaster hit. A flood of oversized rocks jammed the system. The entire wash plant shuddered violently, and then a critical internal screen tore apart. It was like the mechanical heart of their mine had suffered a heart attack. Suddenly, the entire site went dead quiet. Downtime is a miner's worst nightmare. Every hour a machine sits idle, it silently steals thousands of dollars. "You've got to be kidding me." "This always happens," someone muttered. With the plant down, they weren't just not making money, they were bleeding it. Fast. The crew scrambled to fix the problem, working in freezing conditions with numb fingers and rising frustration. Parker now faced a mechanical catastrophe that could turn his $80 million dream into a $15 million disaster. But sometimes, breakdowns lead to breakthroughs. Once Big Red was finally patched up and back in action, the moment of truth arrived. The very first loads of pay dirt from the Widow's Cut were fed into the massive wash plant. For days, the crew had seen nothing but frozen mud and barren rock. Spirits were low. Doubt was creeping in. Then, the unbelievable happened. As the first concentrates were washed through the sluice box, something caught everyone's eye. Gold. Not just a few specks, but thick, solid lines of gold. The bottom of the sluice box was glowing. Everyone stopped. Eyes widened. They had seen solid cleanouts before, but nothing like this. This was on a whole different level. Suddenly, the $80 million theory wasn't just a theory anymore. It was real, tangible, lying right in front of them. It turned out the ancient waterfall system they discovered had acted like nature's own sluice box over thousands of years, concentrating gold into an impossibly rich deposit. Parker, visibly emotional, addressed his crew. "This is a huge accomplishment. I just really want to thank you guys for the effort you've put in." Where they used to find grams, they were now pulling out ounces. The first weigh-in? Massive. The second? Even bigger. They had hit a pay streak so rich it barely made sense. All the exhaustion, frustration, and risk faded away, replaced by adrenaline and excitement. They were no longer just working. They were making history. Parker's outrageous gamble was paying off in the most spectacular way imaginable. The numbers were staggering. In just 1 week, they recovered more gold than some entire mining operations see in a full season. The gold just kept coming, an unstoppable river of yellow pouring from the frozen earth. Parker didn't just break records, he shattered his own. Then, Parker shattered the all-time records for the entire Klondike. He had discovered what every miner dreams of, the motherlode, the once-in-a-lifetime jackpot that turns hard labor into legend. Realizing the magnitude of what he'd found, Parker locked down the site, sealing the gates and protecting what he called a generational fortune from the outside world. The news of his discovery sent shockwaves through the mining community. Parker Schnabel was no longer just the young upstart with something to prove. He had officially become the undisputed king of the Klondike. But with success, that big comes attention, and not all of it welcome. A find of that size brings with it a storm of speculation, rumors, and doubt. And that's exactly what started to happen. As soon as the $80 million figure hit the public, whispers began to spread, especially online. The old fan theory came back to life. Producer's gold. It's the idea that the show's producers secretly salt the mine with gold, adding gold flakes or nuggets just to ensure dramatic TV moments and big weigh-ins. It's a persistent myth, one that shadows nearly every successful mining reality show. For skeptics, it's a convenient way to explain away the kind of fortunes that seem too good to be true. But let's unpack that for a moment. Could Parker's incredible discovery really just be a made-for-TV illusion? Here's what most people don't realize. While reality TV producers are absolute pros at crafting drama, editing footage, highlighting conflicts, and building suspense, faking a gold mine on this scale is next to impossible. The final total haul: 77,381 ounces. That is unreal, Parker said. It sets us up so well for the next few years. To secretly plant tens of thousands of ounces of gold into frozen permafrost would take an effort and a budget beyond reason. It would mean fooling seasoned miners, fabricating detailed geological data, and orchestrating a conspiracy so massive it would fall apart the second anyone asked real questions. Industry insiders and former cast members have also spoken out. While the personal drama might sometimes be dialed up for television, the mining is 100% real. The risks? Real. The breakdowns? Real. And the gold? Definitely real. But once you let go of the salting theory, even more interesting questions emerge. What if the $80 million discovery wasn't just about hitting the jackpot, but also a strategic move in a much bigger game? Some speculate that the massive number was a calculated leak, a way to make noise in a competitive landscape. In the cutthroat world of gold mining, announcing a discovery that size is like lighting a flare. It could scare off competitors from nearby claims, attract top-tier crew members eager to work with a proven winner, or even inflate the perceived value of Parker's entire operation for a potential future sale. And then there's the land deal itself. On the show, it's presented as a simple lease, but anyone familiar with Alaskan mining knows it's rarely that straightforward. Mining claims often involve complex partnerships, private deals, and quiet negotiations behind the scenes. "I've been talking with him about buying him out," one person says, and "I just signed the deal today." That sparked another theory, that the $80 million number wasn't just a discovery, but a bargaining chip. It may have played a critical role in securing large investments, bank loans, or partnership deals. Was the landowner aware of the real potential? Did this valuation unlock funding for an even bigger expansion than we've seen? And then there's the deeper lore. The Widow's Cut has long been tied to gold rush legends, rumors of a lost mine, marked on old maps, then forgotten. Some believe Parker didn't find this site through LiDAR alone, but was tipped off by an old journal or anonymous source. Maybe he followed more than just data. Maybe he followed a legend. But even if you set aside the speculation, there's one grounded, very real question that remains. Are we seeing the full financial picture? Finding $80 million worth of gold is one thing. Keeping it is another. What the cameras don't often show is the harsh, unforgiving economics of gold mining. Between fuel costs, equipment repairs, crew wages, leasing fees, royalties, taxes, and investor cuts, the math gets brutal, fast. The ground might be rich. The story might be legendary. But when all's said and done, how much does Parker actually walk away with? Before Parker even sees a single dollar from his gold haul, a huge chunk is already gone. He has to pay massive royalties to the landowner, sometimes as high as 15 to 20%. On an $80 million discovery, that's up to $16 million out the door right away. Just like that, the headline number starts to shrink. And that's only the beginning. There are hidden costs that never make it into the on-screen drama. Environmental regulations require miners to restore the land when they're done. This isn't just cleaning up trash. It's a multi-million-dollar operation involving recontouring the land, rebuilding ecosystems, and meeting strict legal standards. It's one of the biggest profit drains, and it's rarely talked about. Then you have the constant financial bleed of running the mine itself. There's the massive fuel bill, hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep a fleet of heavy machinery running around the clock. There's a large payroll for skilled crew members, many of whom are highly paid specialists. And don't forget the investors who helped fund the operation. They're expecting their share too. By the time all the checks are written, Parker's actual take-home profit is a small slice of that jaw-dropping $80 million figure. And this is where the story takes a deeper turn. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? When we watch these miners pull fortunes from the dirt, it looks like it happens overnight. A dramatic strike, a life-changing discovery. But is that how it really works? The real battle isn't just fought in the mud and permafrost, it's fought on spreadsheets, in boardrooms, and through complex negotiations. That's the side of the story we rarely see. Could a discovery this big really stay under wraps? Or is it possible that the real win wasn't just finding gold, but figuring out how to navigate the ruthless financial world that comes after? The truth is, what we see on TV might be just the tip of the iceberg, a carefully edited story that leaves the most complex and fascinating details buried deep underground, just like the gold itself. And it leads to one final controversial question. Does any one person truly deserve a fortune created by the earth over millions of years? Let us know what you think in the comments below.